You're watching The Alex Simmons Show, presented by Chick-Fil-A.
The Memphis Tigers are looking for a season turnaround. Turns out, it might be a multi-point turn. We talked to Coach Simmons and Dee Hageman about all that today on The Alex Simmons Show.
Game is on. The Alex Simmons Show is presented by Chick-fil-A. We didn't invent the chicken, just the chicken sandwich. And by Simmons Bank, the official sponsor of women's athletics.
We are midway through conference play, and although there are some mixed results, the Tigers are getting better. Hi, everybody. I'm Dave Woloshin.
And I'm Tyler Springs. Dave, let's see some highlights of that improvement.
Memphis had never started 1-0 in the American. That would change against Wichita State. Dee Hageman's pure passing was the accelerant that ignited the Tigers from behind the arc. The surprise was Alana Eaton stinging the Shockers for 15 points off the bench, all from deep. Hageman had 7 assists before the break as Memphis hit a brain-bending 10 three-pointers. They finished with 13, one shy of the all-time high. And the defense came to life late as Memphis punched in 25 points off Wichita State turnovers. Hageman had 16 points and 12 assists, Memphis' first double-double of that kind in 9 years. And the Tigers would dash to a 93-83 win. That effort would prove hard to copy against defending regular season champion North Texas, visiting for the first time at Rowan Fieldhouse. Alasia Smith had her hands full, posting 16 points, 12 boards, and on the defensive end, 5 swats while playing every minute. The back-and-forth contest proved to be a game of runs. Memphis led for only 2 minutes all afternoon, including once in the final 30 seconds, getting a clutch basket from Tyon Bowler. But in the end, Ariana Hardaway's layup with 2.1 seconds to go helped lift the Mean Green to the win, 73-71. The Tigers would go hunting for a bounce back down at UAB. It started well. Memphis hit 4 of their first 7 looks from downtown and led by 3 after 10 minutes. UAB dominated the rest of the way, forcing 22 Tiger giveaways to wind up winners 73-56. Memphis is still seeking their first road win.
Coach, you started off the conference season about as good as it can get. You beat Wichita State wire to wire, 13 threes in the game, positive ratio. I know you had to be pleased with that.
I was. I thought we shared the ball really well in that game, much better than we had been. So that was growth for our team. Our percentages on the offensive end have improved drastically. So I'm proud of how we're playing as far as pace offensively. I believe we're the #1 scoring offense in our league right now. So I'm extremely happy with where we are offensively.
For your side to have made 10 threes in that first half against Wichita and only be up 5, were you sort of doing a double take with that? Was there anything that you changed in the second half in order to make sure that it didn't stay that close?
Yeah, I thought we just needed to do a better job, especially guard play of guarding the ball and not forcing rotations. I think they did a great job on their end of adjusting to us not getting any more threes and longer closeouts, but I think that then also opened up the paint for us in the post.
Now, you play North Texas at home, pretty good crowd on hand. That's a back and forth game. That was an emotional game, both teams playing so hard, and in heartbreaking fashion, you lose that game. What'd you say to the team after that one?
It was all about, we knew going into that game that they were really good on the offensive boards. And that was actually one of our points of emphasis. And to not carry that over was disappointing from the team. But I think how we played back and forth, how we stayed in the game, took a lead a couple of times, again, that's growth from us just losing a lead or kind of quitting when we weren't supposed to quit. So that's growth for our team, but I think anytime Memphis plays North Texas, it's always that type of game, it seems like. 2 really good teams going at it.
You go to UAB, your first road contest in conference play, looking for your first road win of the year. It looked like in the first quarter, things were going really, really well for your side. Something switched up in the second quarter. What did you see from the bench?
Yeah, when we started the second quarter, I noticed that I didn't have, our first group out there, and I think that kind of messed up our flow, to be honest with you. There were 2 rebounds when I go back and look that I know for a fact. Alasia Smith, she has 17 rebounds, so I know she would have gotten those 2. That could have kind of changed the momentum of the game. And so I think just how we started with as far as our personnel, we weren't comfortable with it on the court. But again, trying to get some breaks every now and then for players like Alasia and Tilly and Dee. But I think the first quarter was exactly what we wanted. We changed our starting lineup. And then going into that second quarter is where, our rotations were just kind of off.
Not to make excuses for you, in that game, you get killed points in the paint. And I keep thinking to myself as I'm watching this game, Hannah Riddick, Fulmore, you have those two key players in. I don't think these issues really come up.
Yeah, always hindsight, you look at those types of things and kind of X's and O's wise see where those players would be in certain situations in that game. One of our Achilles heels has been just guarding the basketball and not letting teams get to the paint. We do a great job of guarding the three-point line, which is one of our principles, is not allowing threes. But now we're giving up paint points. So, and it's drives, not really post-ups. So always trying to clean that up, but I definitely think whether it be one or two of those players, some of our games probably change a little bit.
Speaking to Dave's point, I think it was a career-high 28 minutes for Latasia Williamson in that game, and obviously that's asking her to bite off a lot, and she chewed it as best she could. What are you seeing in terms of year two progress for her and getting more minutes?
Yeah, Latasia's somebody who I see a lot in. Obviously, we brought her here, and I didn't want her freshman year to be her sophomore year to be like her freshman year, where she had some discouraging times. Because again, I have a lot of faith in her and her ability and her talent. And we have some players hurt, which became an opportunity for her to get better. And I think she's definitely, especially in our UAB game, she's definitely showing and growing. And just improving all around, becoming somebody who is a voice on the court. And as a sophomore, that's huge. So who knows where her game will go after this year.
You also now have added Liz Martino, who last we saw was at Omaha in Nebraska. She's had a pretty storied career herself, Jackson State, Rutgers. How did this connection with you and her bring her here?
Well, obviously we had a lot of injured players, so we needed bodies. I didn't want to go the route of bringing in a walk-on or bringing in somebody who was finished with their sport. I thought it was best if we're going to bring in somebody, let's bring in somebody who could possibly be effective. I recruited Liz when I was at Ole Miss a long time ago. She was, I believe she was in like the 8th or 9th grade. And so seeing that she was in the transfer portal, I thought it was a no-brainer. She has some connections on our team already with Tilly and Dee, I believe. And so I think just her IQ, her knowledge of the game has helped. And I think the more and more and the longer she's here, the more minutes she'll get and the more effective she'll be, because she's a great offensive player.
Have you figured out whether or not this is a team that needs more timeouts called or less timeouts called and letting them figure it out on their own?
I haven't quite figured that out yet. In our UAB game, I was kind of trying to decide and struggling with if we needed a timeout, because I know a lot of the times we need those at the end of games. I'm not a believer in calling the timeout to stop the other team from scoring, and then we leave that timeout and the other team still scores. I like calling them obviously after makes for our team, but I do think this team is a team that can figure it out themselves. I think we do need more games under our belt to actually know and make that a concrete decision.
Up next, we'll hear from Dee Hageman, the newly minted Tiger point guard, about her team and how she got here.
You're watching The Alex Simmons Show, presented by Chick-Fil-A.
Welcome back to The Alex Simmons Show. Dee Hageman, a second-team All-Big Ten point guard last year at Michigan State, got in the transfer portal in search of greener pastures. She found them at Memphis, where her pro dreams aligned with their need for a lead guard. Growing up, were you always a basketball player? Did you try other sports before you found this was the game you loved?
No, like my family, everybody played basketball. I feel like I came out the womb with a basketball. When I was born, my sisters was playing AAU and my parents were like their coaches. So like I was always around basketball. So it's just something that like I just gravitated to.
When did you know, oh, people think I'm good and maybe I can do this at a level above high school?
I feel like it was when I was playing with boys. I got kicked out the boys league because they didn't want any girls.
How old?
I think I was around like 8, 10, like around there. I was killing the boys too much, and they came to my parents and were like, I can't play in the, in the league. So then I transferred to AAU, female. And then after that, that's when I knew, maybe I can do something big with this.
Playing with boys young helped you build your confidence?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like that's what made me the player I am today, because, boys are much taller, much stronger. So, I feel like that's when, I started passing, finding my teammates.
You grew up in Detroit, obviously. I'm curious, did you always want to go to Michigan State? Were there other places, or was your family a U of M family? What was it?
Well, really, we grew up U of M fans. We loved the football team. I definitely went on a lot of visits, just being excited to, just be at Michigan. And then around the time where I was ready to commit on Michigan State, they blew me. So had to go to Coach Susie. I definitely got through in the fire. My freshman year, there was a lot of injuries. At first, I wasn't the starting point guard, but then after the injuries kept happening, they just threw me in the fire and I started, exceeding.
Did you have a moment where you had to catch your breath and think, oh, wow, I'm actually playing Big Ten basketball. This is different.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like that was the first game I started, in jump ball. I was just looking around, seeing a lot of fans, and I'm really here. This is something that I love.
You end up transferring because there's a coaching change at Michigan State, right? You want new digs, a new place to go and ball. Tell me about the offseason that you had. It was a little up and down. You first landed at Ole Miss, then stepped away from there, but ended up here at Memphis. The first part, what made you pick Ole Miss?
Ole Miss, I felt like their goals aligned with my goals. They wanted a hard-working point guard. The coaches wanted to stay in the gym with me 24/7. Even when I went on a visit, they wanted to stay in the gym. And then, so that's why I committed to Ole Miss. But then, after further thought, I just knew, I wouldn't be the best at Ole Miss. So I decommitted.
And what did Memphis say that made you think, okay, this can similarly work?
In the offseason, talking to Alex and Coop very heavily, I could tell they knew the game. I knew, all around, just not my position, but, different positions, and I knew that they had the knowledge to get me to the next level.
Well, you have a big, kind of a breakout first half against Tennessee where you wowed a lot of people, I think, who didn't necessarily know what you would look like. How much more comfortable did you feel having had all the practices in the fall to jump in there against a ranked team?
At first, it was nervous because, I haven't played since March of 2024. So just going in, I was a little nervous, but then as the game went on, I felt more free and all the pressure just left my body.
Memphis has looked like a different team when you're at the helm, and I think it's a big credit to your vision. How much of what you've learned as a point guard is something that you kind of had in you all along, and how much of it is taught?
Well, my dad definitely was a point guard. Everybody that, all my trainers were point guards. So I felt like it was kind of built in me, but I felt like they're teaching me how to be more of a leader. I feel like I was a little slow to the leading role, but everything else, I feel like it was built in.
What would you have told yourself last April to know that you'd be in this position here and don't stress about it? There may be some hard things along the way.
Just don't let the trials and tribulations just knock you down. I feel like over, the off season, I hit a rock bottom a little bit. So just toning in on my work ethic, just keeping pace.
What do you see for this team in the future?
W's all around. I feel like, we need to get our stuff together, lock in practice and stuff, but we can accomplish all our goals.
This summer, you hit the jackpot portal when you got Dee Hageman. Now, she's from Detroit, so explain to me, how did you know this young lady?
Basketball is a small world, so just connections, and Coach Coop knew a couple of coaches, and obviously she was committed to Ole Miss when she left Michigan State. That didn't work out. Obviously had some academic issues, so I felt like we were willing and she was worth helping her through that and having her ready to play by mid-season. And anytime, I think when you have an opportunity to bring somebody like that in, although they may not start out playing, they'll be training and then be ready kind of mid-season going into conference play. I think it was just a no-brainer for us.
You talk so much about the emphasis on point guard play and how much it makes a difference in your team and any team's play. What do you see that's natural in Didi, that's instinctive for her, that you don't really have to draw out of her very much, that she just sort of knows how to do?
Her reads on the ball are really good. Her ability to find people, to see things kind of forming before they actually form, and to kind of dictate on offense. She's a reason that, you can't necessarily give her space, but you can't necessarily be up on her because she's so quick with the ball. And then her ability to pass, I think she leads the league right now in assists. So, she's just kind of an all-around player on the offensive end because she can play at all three levels. She can play in transition. She can shoot the three. Obviously her size kind of hinders her from doing some things from time to time, but anytime she has just an all-around game, she's just been a really good addition to our team.
And what a testament to her mental strength to not have the ability to play all that time and the first game's against the University of Tennessee and have a game like that.
Mm-hmm. And, it's funny, when she came on her visit, that's what we talked about. Like from that day, kind of, we put it into existence. Like, your first game is going to be Tennessee. If it's before that, great, but we know that's going to be your first game. So preparing her as far as a mentality standpoint, that every day she comes in here, she's leading, she's running the point, and she's getting ready to play. She's helping players like a young 10-year-old Welch, who's not necessarily a point guard, but has to play the point guard.
When we come back, we examine the gauntlet that awaits the Tigers. UTSA at home, and then a tough road swing through Tulane and Tulsa.
You're watching The Alex Simmons Show, presented by Chick-Fil-A. Let's take a look at the AutoZone road ahead.
I think you need to talk to the American Commissioner. All these road games in this stretch, but you do have one against UTSA before you hit the road again.
It'll be good to get back home. It's just the story of the league. None of us can control where we play, and we don't have any decision-making power behind that. So we just focus on winning the week and winning one game at a time.
How well is UTSA playing right now?
I think, when you look from last year to this year, you see their improvement. They're playing well together, obviously. That's kind of where, you would want to go when you're in their situation. Their head coach is a great coach. He's been there for a couple of years, and I think she's just growing the program.
And then two tough places, Tulane and Tulsa, both away.
Yeah, we actually haven't played at Tulsa yet, so it'll be interesting to go there for the first time. Tulane's always a tough team. They're another team from last year to this year with a new coach and a new system. We just kind of have to play solid, not necessarily depend on what happened last year, and just focus on the right now.
That was tonight's AutoZone Road Ahead. AutoZone, America's #1 battery destination and official sponsor of Tiger Athletics. Get in the zone. AutoZone.
2 out of the next 3 are away from the El Marrone. That's a tough stretch. Back with a wrap in just a minute.
You're watching The Alex Simmons Show, presented by Chick-Fil-A.
Thanks so much for watching. Our next show will be in February. We'll see you then.
The Alex Simmons Show is presented by Chick-Fil-A. We didn't invent the chicken, just the chicken sandwich. And by Simmons Bank, the official sponsor of women's athletics.
The preceding has been a Learfield presentation of the University of Memphis Sports Network. This copyrighted telecast is an exclusive presentation of Learfield under the broadcasting rights granted by the University of Memphis. Reuse of this presentation is prohibited without the expressed written consent of the University of Memphis and Learfield.